Hey everyone, is going to start in just a second, getting a few technical things done in the background, so please stay tuned. If you care about crypto, you're going to want to watch this video, and by watch I mean you could actually just listen. I'm just going to let the visuals of the current value of Bitcoin in solidarity with the coin. I'm going to let that run while I'm discussing this stuff. So, hope you guys will join. I think you're going to find this interesting. And we're almost there. All right, so there we go. We should be ready now. I'm going to go ahead and pop up with the Bitcoin. Get this so it just provides us a pleasant visual here. And just generally speaking, market's kind of getting to that place that I've been talking about for about a day. It has gone from 360 something million dollars, 24-hour volume measured in Tether on the Binance exchange, down to 74 million. This is usually where the crazy pop happens with all of the alts, mechanically, mathematically, but also then the FUD and FOMO kick in. I, as a speculator, do care about this stuff, and I do feel the pressure when it's not going well, and I do feel the victory when it is going well. So all of these things matter to me, so we watch them. So this is Gordon Freeman, the free man, helping to lead you from the darkness into the light through the crypto revolution. Mass adoption is what we need. Mass adoption comes from liquidity. Liquidity comes from trading on a legitimate exchange. We choose Binance, and you should too. So that's going to become a very controversial part of this video. I hope that you guys are going to watch, join in. And I've got a delay on the YouTube version of this, although it may have sent an announcement out to subscribers because they don't provide that feature in the new streaming beta, the way that they provide it. So I'm delaying that because I'm going to be helping with somebody's, I'm the primary care helper for somebody's surgery coming up in these next 3 days. I want to make sure that content is available that I can discuss while I'm doing that. So Periscope and the others should be getting the stream right now. And I am going to make sure that I have my notes to where I can discuss this discussion is much bigger than really what would normally be covered in one video, and I'm sure that I'm going to break this down into several others. But I've been doing some research in the background while doing our excellent record of trading this past week. Things slowed down unbelievably. Hold on just 1 second. With the past several zigs and zags with Bitcoin, tends to shake loose a lot of the alts, even some of the best alts. So they're starting their climb back up from about 50% down, many of them. So from 1% to 3% to 10%. Loom's really the only. Loom and AGI, I would consider those legitimate. BAT, I consider that legitimate. Court Chain, I consider legitimate. Sometimes WPR, not always. But we've also seen the volume go all the way down as low as a single digit for the first time. It's another historical thing we have crossed. Not the kind that we want to. So here's the deal. Studying a lot of the stuff with Bitcoin Cash and the hard fork, and then the other hard fork, and the hard fork that's a hard pill to swallow. Studying Roger Ver's side of things, studying several different interviews with Richard Hart, which I think really understands a lot of this stuff from a unique perspective. I don't agree with everything that he says, but I'm not sure that he would agree with everything that he says either. Just a really brilliant perspective on everything from speculation to why Hex is going to be a good thing. Studying the Dr. Craig Wright, and several different interviews with him where he says some consistent things, some maybe not quite as consistent things, and he'd rather be a word for a Richard or a not very nice person than a buttocks for many reasons. Yes, I know this is the Clean Family Show version of things, so some of you are disappointed. I think it's a good idea. Anyway, studying all these different things, but over past couple of months, I've enjoyed catching up on a lot of Peter McCormack's videos. His interviews are excellent. He's a really good interviewer, even if it kind of goes into discussion mode, because it's just a very friendly back and forth with the people that he's interviewing. He covers the topics from an intellectual angle that a lot of people are missing. It's funny sometimes when you have people that will look back on this time, and it's kind of like a new industry where we have access to, like, the Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and CEOs of Enron, and I'm intentionally choosing that one, and IBM and others, before that access is like impossible for somebody at street level, regular YouTube interviewer level. I don't think those times are going to last forever. I think that we might even see that start to change in 2020. But we'll see. So it makes it really interesting because sometimes the interviewer is so unbelievably outclassed in their capabilities to think on their feet compared to people that travel the world, working that rhetoric, whether it's good, bad, true, or false, or whatever. So the interviews are very interesting, and I'm sure sometimes it can give too much of a floor for people to say, bring it on, sue me for this, sue me for that, I dare you to sue me, that kind of stuff. And that's not me saying that, by the way. I have no desire to get sued for anything. But I think that my perspective on this stuff is not only completely fair and valid, but I'm hoping that the purpose of this is that if you truly care about crypto, then first of all, you're going to watch this. And if that is the case, then I hope that you're going to get something from this, even if it forces you to see things from a perspective that you wish you didn't agree with. So that's the discomfort side of things. So we're going to go over some global economics here, and I'm going to share why that perspective is. I have not found somebody at the top of their game in the most important sectors of the crypto revolution that truly understand the economics, and that disturbs me greatly because mass adoption is largely in their hands. Hopefully we can find our way to being boosted up to thought leader status just by believing in what we're doing and showing you that trading is liquidity, and liquidity is what's going to make any market work. So, you can give away $1 billion in crypto to the most struggling of countries and show them exactly how to use that to pay their bills on their devices and everything. But if that industry does what it did the last time and went down 90%, then you're not addressing anybody's problem. You're trying to tell somebody else to trust your issues that you haven't resolved. Kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Here's another one that doesn't make sense. Oh yeah, the dollar's going to crash. The dollar's going to crash. That's why we need this to replace fiat. Well, two really big issues with that. I'm going to go over in more detail. How are you going to buy a Bitcoin if the dollar crashes? Going to buy it in gold? You got a lot of gold there? Got a lot of gold in Africa, Venezuela? Didn't think so. Second of all, it's kind of a tough argument to say that, the dollar's losing value. It's been holding in a lot better in the past 20 years than crypto held it last year. You know what I'm saying? If you spend $1,000 in crypto at the beginning when Bitcoin was at 20,000, and then you watched it go down negative 87%, you're probably thinking, yeah, but I can still, use the same $5 bill to buy something off the fast food menu. Yeah, that wouldn't have worked with the same situation with crypto. So speculation is going to save your rears, and that's just the truth of the economics. Now, I'm going to not zig and zag. I'm going to bring all this together, but I'm just giving you a little bit of an overview. I do know a little bit about what I'm talking about here, and I do have strong feelings and strong opinions, but it's not just the way I feel, man, and it's not just, somebody has told me something, so I believe it. I'm watching the evidence of it, and it's unmistakable. Okay, so I want to make sure to come back around to the fiat, to VER, to Wright, to Bitcoin Cash, the hard fork, global economics. But I also want to make sure and use the STEAM community, STEEM, as one of the best examples for where some of the biggest thinkers still have it wrong and why there's a disconnect as a result. Okay, so global economics. I find it confusing, challenging, concerning that I'm not hearing even the best experts in the area understanding the global economics. Okay, so Dr. Craig Wright made a very good point about what they're doing with their part of the Bitcoin Cash journey, and I don't know if that's changed since the amazing, excellent interview that Peter McCormack did. In fact, I'm going to click on the link, make sure that it works correctly. I used the actual, link that was provided. So yes, that works correctly. Good. So, one of the things that Wright was saying is that what they're doing is they're going to places that are not fun to travel to, in his words, to go to places like Africa and others who are struggling. And he said that 40% of their income goes to translating money from one form to another. And so that's what Bitcoin Cash should resolve. And, yes, a 40% change, maybe changing it to 30%, 20%, 10%, once you have transaction fees and what is the current value of something versus something else. I would argue that if you have a coin that suffers legitimacy issues, and I would agree with Peter McCormack, it suffers branding issues. You can't say that just because a project is in this category, that category, that it's not branding. That's one of the arguments I heard Dr. Wright make in a different category. I've studied patent law, I've studied trademark law, I've studied copyright. Da, 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 da. Okay, you make a picture to represent the thing that you do. That's a trademark. Whether you choose to register it or not, that's up to you. Just because it doesn't fall into a certain category doesn't mean that every single project is being operated like a business. You say you're a capitalist, and I believe you, and I agree, and I am one as well. I agree socialism does not work. But that's not going to be what this is about. This is not crypto politico, where I say things that are going to make socialists angry. You're welcome to believe in that as well. I guess I would wonder, why are you so into cryptocurrencies? Do you think everybody should have exactly the same amount of everything? Yada, yada, yada. The issue with helping with that 40% gap is that you do things that people see not being on the up and up, and you get delisted from legitimate exchanges. Lots of them. Even Kraken, you were willing to say was fairly decent, so I'd assume that's where you trade. But Binance isn't bad just because you disagree with them. CZ, I hope, or CZ, I hope is on the up and up. He has been so far. The whole, shilling and pump and dump and all these different things. Put that accusation where it belongs on Cryptopia. Because, I would agree the main reason Cryptopia is there is for people to pump coins. So when they lost a huge amount, I don't think that they're necessarily running their operation wrong at all. But I mean, if you want to say that something is not on the up and up, I mean, I do not believe that CZ is a drug mule. I do not believe that he is doing wash trades. They've actually proven what I've seen from 14 hours, 17, 18 hours a day of trading on Binance. They've actually proven in a report that they are found not to be doing wash trading or some of the insider volume pump stuff that other exchanges have been rightfully accused of. Those things are absolutely happening on a lot of exchanges, but I haven't seen the evidence of that happening here. And I put my hard-earned good money to use on the exchange every second of the day for the most part. So I don't really care to get in the middle of that one, but I do just think that, if you say you're a capitalist and I trade, but I think that these exchanges are horrible and, they're drug trafficking and they're washing trades and they're helping criminal undergrounds, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I go to Africa and I help show people how to, get back the value of their money. When you get delisted, just how much did it drop? And if you were an African trying to provide for their family and they bought into changing everything over to Bitcoin Cash instead of Western Unioning things or whatever the African equivalent or whatever the translation is to how much that loss is, I would rather have the 40% that I'm used to dealing with and struggling with than a 50 or 60% loss once I bought into something. So that would be pretty scary and it would be a knee jerk. It's something that could happen with the instability of crypto. Another thing that really troubles me is the thought that the reason that all these exchanges are so bad is because they're outside of regulation and they need regulation. To me, there's nothing better for a capitalist to understand than self-regulation. Meaning if I want to use a website and website A is great and website B is terrible, capitalism is supposed to resolve that by making people naturally flock towards A. And so A has the incentive to do even better, offer a better experience, offer better protection, better privacy, better security. And I do agree with Wright that there's no such thing as a decentralized exchange. And under the guise of saying I am the real Satoshi, which I wasn't there, so I don't know. I have opinions that I'm not worth, that I don't believe in getting sued for. But in the ideology of that, anybody should understand just how much power is at the hands of development teams and miners. So this was an incredible technology to develop. Blockchain and the coins that sit upon it. And it's a task that is an achievement, a huge achievement. And it should not be, unrecognized as such. But to think that, I want to make sure that was right. Sorry, a little distraction. To think that doesn't have an effect of centralization, I just think is one of the biggest things that the libertarian ideal side of things are missing the boat completely. You need to understand how centralized this is. And the thing is, as much wickedness and greed passes through the hands of governments, it's a people issue. People deal, FUD and FOMO would not be true and they would not work and they would not guide anybody's principles in how to trade. And the people that slap themselves on the forehead when they think I could have had Bitcoin at $20 or $10 and now it's going to cost me $5,300 to buy one. You think that's not fear of missing out? Well, what is the fear of missing out? Is that I'm not going to get rich when Lambo. So obviously these things are connected. But I do like the idea that crypto can provide options for people in difficult situations in countries. Hopefully you won't listen to one thing that you disagree with and then turn this off, because I promise you I'm going to cover this more deep than you're going to hear anywhere else. So stick with this if you would. So I do think that that's one of the things that cryptocurrencies can resolve and should resolve, is that it helps people that are under tyrannical governments. And unfortunately, that includes some of the aspects of the U.S., which I would like to imagine us as that hopeful beacon of light for why people have fled other countries to come here, and why we still deal with the migration issue on so many different fronts, because we don't necessarily have the strength and the resources to bear the weight of a lot of the world's problems. So we need to teach others to be able to do the things that our country in its earliest days did that were successful. And we need to learn from our own lessons too, or we run the risk of losing what the founders so dearly believed in. And people gave their lives to get to that point. So there's the irony. The way that people can use crypto to interact with one another directly, that's one of the more important things. Cutting the government's ties from the intervention of that. You wouldn't have such heavy taxation, especially under socialist heading into communist regimes. You wouldn't have the heavy taxation problem. You wouldn't have some of the permission granted, not granted issues that people are facing. And the idea of there not being a centralization within the transactions of crypto is the thing that can help free people. Okay. The part that really concerns me, other than, you're trying to deal with closing the gap of money that is bleeding through transactions, basically changing money from one form to another in order to pay for things. Okay, I understand and agree with that, but you can't resolve the fluctuation unless you show the true value in your coin. When these coins do the right messaging and figure out how to handle actual marketing and promotion to whatever extent they're allowed to, because, if you are an ICO or if you are a coin listed on an exchange or delisted from an exchange, I don't know what the limitations are as far as how you can advertise and market. So, I'm in the dark for that part of it, but I know that it exists and you're allowed to do something. People are allowed to evangelize what the coin is and what it's about. You guys are doing a horrible job. Terrible across the board. Not a single thing that you're doing right. What the world sees is, don't do this, it's dangerous. That's the only thing that they hear, the people that haven't gotten into mass adoption. Those who are on the fence and know a lot about crypto but haven't put a lot of money into it, and they're looking for advice, what should I do with this? Should I hold? Should I sell it? Should I use a bot to trade it? Should I trade it? All the different things people are wondering. Or, where could I buy a t-shirt with Bitcoin? These are things that nobody's doing anything to handle the questions that are there. But what they are seeing is that guy's not the real Satoshi. This guy's not the real, maybe he's the real Satoshi. It was a team. It was a guy. It was everybody that was on the team says that it's not this one. The original Bitcoin is terrible. We're making another one. We've made another one and now we can't get along. We're going to make another one. But we're the real ones. But they're not the real ones. They're bad guys. Those guys over there, they're bad. Those guys over here, they're bad. How is that helping mass adoption? Why should we spend thousands of our own dollars to speculate on your projects when all you do is threaten to sue each other and talk about how the different megabyte caps are going to destroy the whole thing and how it can't scale? But yours can scale. It's just that the other guys that were all part of the same team are all saying that each other's 3 different teams can't scale, can't handle the transactions, cost too much, have greedy developers. Right? How does that help mass adoption? Okay, I'm going to let that linger while I take a sip of water. So here's something that extends to all of the most important leaders of the different teams. We've had Bitcoin, and we've had a split from Bitcoin that becomes Ethereum, which is, a different type of utility that resolves all sorts of different things. But, you can buy and sell and trade and pay for things with Ethereum, just like you can with Bitcoin. We have the camp that's pro-XRP, anti-XRP, Ripple. We have the introduction of the first bank that has been roaringly against blockchain and Bitcoin and is now saying, hey, we're in JP Morgan coin. Yay, yuha. We have the corporate side coming in with Starbucks and Microsoft and Nike, CryptoKicks. and all this different stuff, but just a glaring hypocrisy, unbelievably unmistakable hypocrisy about who the good guys and who the bad guys are. But Vitalik Buterin, Roger Ver, Craig Wright, the other voices for others, Justin Sun, etc., 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 all almost as if it's memorized, but I'm not saying that it is, to say that, they get behind any project that survives and gets to mass adoption. Whatever coin it is, we're behind it. Baloney. All you're doing is attacking the other coins to be the one. And I did hear Wright say some contradicting things in a couple of different interviews, but the one that sticks with me is the Peter McCormack, where he's talking about, capitalism is good. Okay, I'm okay with that. Healthy competition is good. Okay, healthy competition, I agree, is good. But, does anybody love a presidential election for the fact that instead of getting the real fine points about why one candidate is good or another, is that the vast majority of the time is that they just slam the other one? So-and-so allowed da-da-da-da-da. Do you really trust so-and-so to handle your... I mean, how many times do you hear the same ads? Then the other guy's forced to respond to it. So-and-so said that, but that's just not true. I did it because I care about you. So real issues, just get buried by, the slinging of mud. So how is that helpful to crypto? I mean, really and truly and seriously. Isn't it possible, isn't it just possible for a second here, that ENJ, Engine Coin, is going to be really great for handling game assets, game management, and that they've partnered with Unity to do just that, to make it easy for people to code. So now it's not the game developer's responsibility to handle the, the micro or macro financing, the economics behind, I want to buy the blue sword, I want to sell the red sword inside of a game, and they don't end up with the World of Warcraft mining benefits and then issues that result as that develops. Isn't it possible that they're good at that thing? It's not that you can't speculate on Engine and boost its value. In fact, right here, if you believe in the future of Engine, buy $100 of Engine on Binance right now. Do it. I mean, this is not my financial advice, but should Bitcoin have to resolve all game assets, and should Bitcoin have to resolve all Africa, Venezuela trade transaction issues? Should Bitcoin be the one to, let's find another category. What if there is a coin that wants to just deal with medical records, using the immutability of fungible, non-fungible, of blockchain for permanent record storage? And then I guess the solution there, you can't ever get rid of it, but you could attach an update if there was an error made. That to me would be one of the most important aspects, because in the US at least, our medical sector is broken, and communication between doctors and physicians and pharmacists and psychologists, psychiatrists, data banks, data collectors, insurance companies, and what was that other thing? Oh yeah, the patients is so broken. It's broken into 1,000 pieces. So something could be the $1 trillion solution to that. Do I think that the same coin who has a limited size development team understands the global economics, understands game assets, understands using blockchain for the medical field, and 500 other things that everybody wants to resolve? There can be only one, really? Does Bitcoin have to be CryptoKicks? Long pause. Okay. Do they all want to agree with each other on exactly how smart contracts should be handled? Okay, then yet another one. Let's say it all ends up just being whichever the real Bitcoin is. Should I only be allowed to trade that with fiat? Because, of course, we have to get Ripple out of the way, too. So you're saying that crypto's going to replace fiat. Fiat is eventually going to crash. But crypto will remain, and there should only be one, healthy competition capitalism, to make that one survive. And what I would say is, what makes me have the confidence that Vitalik and Roger Ver and Wright and Justin Sun and CZ, now because BNB coin is on the map, are all going to come to a consensus on which one that one is, and that it will save the global economy and become the mark of the beast, a global economy single. Yeah, okay, I'm not even going to go there, but seriously, it's like if they knew 2,000 years ago that that was eventually where things were going to come to a halt because everybody had to buy into the same system and there was no validity or credibility to that system other than just trusting a person's name or reputation. A healthy market has competition. A healthy market has competition. Okay. I know the, I guess it's Adam Smith, the rent seeking and all these different aspects to micro, macro economies, all these different things to consider. But what we want to see, and I mean, I don't know why it's so difficult for the people at the top to understand their own field. Healthy competition is what works. Okay, one of these coins that I'm here looking at, okay, at the top right now is only 7,400 BNB, 24-hour volume measured in Bitcoin, the real Bitcoin, or Bitcoin Core, let's just call it that, to satisfy some. CELR is very recent, so we don't know whether it's going to be good over time. But as the volume drops lower and lower and lower, this isn't a real thing. It hasn't been listed yet. When it gets listed, it'll have volume, and then it'll drop by 50% in the first 5 minutes. CIS is now down too. This is the lowest volume ever on record with Binance. SNM, these very low value, this is worth 2 cents. So let me give you my 2 cents worth. I'll pay it in SNM. Fun is worth a penny. It's as low as 19 BTC. I've seen it at 3,000 not more than a month ago. These things are speculative, but one of these, I don't know which one it is. Is it CIS? Is it RDN? Is it, well, it's not Bancor. Yeah, storage. One of these eventually is going to fail. I hope when that happens, I don't have any money in it. So far, so good. We've done pretty well with 9 delistings. We had 2 of them that we took a loss on, and we made it up the same day each time. So not a big deal. But as our trade sizes increase, it can become an increasingly big deal. So global economics includes the buying, the selling, the trading, the negotiations, and those who are bad actors. Eventually, it's going to run out. If it's a Ponzi scheme, eventually the person gets exposed because there's no more robbing Peter to pay Paul. Eventually that runs out. And if a coin is found to do that kind of thing, then you have a problem and something needs to step in. You know, I hope that Tether is able to maintain their process. I hope that NYC will move out of the way because they're the jealous previous regime that does not want the crypto space right up until the second that they do. I mean, who's to say that blockchain doesn't resolve a lot of the ticker tape parade madness, right? So that's healthy competition. One of these guys is going to fail. I hope that I don't have my money in it when it does. That's capitalism. But if we just have one, what you going to do with it? Everything, every single thing in the world you're going to do with that? Don't you think Bitcoin becomes much more evil than the dollar ever was? I mean, do you want to trust whoever the current core team is? Do you know who the core team is? Do they have the power to change the code? Do they have the consensus to do so? Could they decide to change the streaming and formatting of hash and mining to where it's increasingly less fair to the miners and more fair to them? Or even worse, you know, do they so not like believe in profit that, you know, ... whatever. I pray that it's not just a millennial mindset because they don't have a clue if that's the case. So these are brilliant, genius, mad scientists in the best sense of the word, best, you know, geeks in the best sense of the words. But they've got to understand that what they're dealing with has the value equivalent of money. Whether it is just for transactional resolutions, whether it is for informational resolutions, whether they, thought they were going to make all their $100 million on an ICO and pump it and then disappear, whether they're just, using the same rhetoric out there, decentralized, immutability, privacy, we resolve the scalability and transactional issues. Okay, if they do all those things, that's great. That's great. But people like choice. People like having options. So even if you just look at the core, the most important ones for the different kind of slant they have on things and what they resolve, you're still going to have Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Tron, XRP, Ripple, Doge, because who doesn't like a cute dog? That's global economy there, buddy. You're going to have Dash. You're going to probably have ADA. You're probably going to have EOS. And, so I mean, you're going to end up with at least 10. You're going to have Ethereum. You're probably going to have basic attention token because people like the privacy thing being right in their browsers. And now they have competition. So, okay, Bitcoin Cash is not going to resolve every single one of those things for every other category and then become the one thing. So if that's not the case, then your rhetoric is a big fat lie. And it bothers me that every single coin is saying the same thing. We just want the one that succeeds in mass adoption to be the one that wins. We'll get behind whichever one it is. You're already proving that that's not the case because BTC took on the brunt of the first decade and did it very well. Now, Richard Hart makes the point that Bitcoin has failed in the advertising of such things. We should have mass adoption after a decade. Well, I agree and disagree. This is a technical hurdle that, a lot of the world thinks that they're tech savvy because they have a smartphone. But, the majority of the world does not understand Mimblewimble and Segwit and hashing and blockchain and mining and, how do I mine? Why do I need a video card? Why do I need a server? Would you trust your grandmother to set up a master node? Okay. Do you think that they can handle, doing an Ether wallet for the first time? Here, Grandma, could you please set up my MetaMask? Right? Okay. So things that do make more sense, just as an example, would be the Bancor protocol, BNT, where they're all ERC20 and you can exchange them directly side by side. If you sign up and join their extremely small, doing a terrible job scaling website, you'll find that there may be different coin projects of interest. And you might find that some of them actually have products. And some of them are looking towards community exchange type stuff. Now, I'm not saying that I'm pro that. I think there are a lot of issues with that. The whole global village via crypto stuff, I don't think that we are aware that even begins to work. But it's proof that the concept makes sense and that anybody that wants to issue a coin should be able to issue a coin. And if they do wrong with it, we shouldn't need regulation to shut it down. People will hate it on their own. So the main thing is that the strong community warns a community. And, if it's the actual coin leaders that are shilling and they're telling lies about others in order to get there, then shame on them. Their projects should at least suffer consequences like being delisted. So that's there should be only one, the Highlander, there can be only one. There should only be one that wins and gets good capitalism for me to beat all the other guys in order for mine to win. That's just wrong, and it's not going to work. And that's the evil underbelly of capitalism, and it usually cannot survive without fascism. Okay, if you want government regulations so that you win, you're a fascist. So I'm not calling anybody specific a fascist, but the ideology alone does not work. That is global economics. It is always tied to politics. And if you want your world of crypto to be decentralized, don't ask for centralization. through regulation. It's so short-sighted. How do you think that the printing of fiat became a problem? Not because it was in the hands of free men who were free market capitalists. It's because of greed. Greed is a problem in every single project that has ever been on this planet. So if you truly have altruistic intentions, if you truly want to help the nations that need crypto the most, and something that Wright said that I absolutely agree with, is the point that we in America and Europe and some of the less struggling countries, although we're getting there, we don't understand the need for crypto. We understand the want for crypto, the interest in crypto, and the win Lambo, win Moon. I totally agree with him as far as that aspect of things. I don't think that it is completely evil. I believe in working hard to accomplish hard goals. I don't want to, just eeny, meeny, miny, moe, the right project that goes 1000x and then be done with it. And Bitcoin is actually having a spike right now, so it's kind of funny timing that I'm talking about that while Bitcoin has done $3 billion worth of buying in the past 45 seconds. So that's important. So you want to compete, but you'll support any coin that gets there. You want government intervention, but you're talking about countries that are starving to death because of their governments. And you're going to be the resolution to that, but you want regulation. The contradictions are astounding, and there's so many of them I can't even cover it here. So that covers the helping Africa with BSV. That covers there should be only one. Now to cover the problem with the developers is that they all want to leave their mark. Okay, this is specific to the Peter McCormack video again. Absolutely excellent interview. Right-click on that to open it in a separate thing so you don't leave this video whenever you get the YouTube thing. But it shouldn't be available yet, but YouTube probably told the subscriber, so it probably won't serve the purpose of letting it trickle when I'm needing to assist in caregiving after surgery. So, yes. Was that your Harley just idling? Oh, okay. So, developers, the different teams, part of the problem that was cited for why has Bitcoin Satoshi's vision really should be Bitcoin Cash Satoshi's vision. I have a real issue with that. It's not my business. It's not my decision to be made. But if you want to have mass adoption, if you want crypto to hit the mainstream, you shouldn't have 3 different projects claiming to be Bitcoin. It's dumb. It's bad advertising, and it's just dumb. It just is. It's the wrong. You don't want to say, how can we compete with Nike? Let's call ourselves Mikey. Let's see. Instead of a swooping symbol, let's have like a little lightning bolt on the end of it, but it looks the same. And we'll have Michael Gordon instead of Michael Jordan, and we'll promote it through basketball teams. Can you imagine that lasting long? Well, I don't know. Okay, people like Doge, so I could be wrong. But you have one team that is Bitcoin Cash. They won the name Bitcoin Cash. So what did they do with that? The future of Bitcoin. Oh, so they're Bitcoin. No, well, no, but yes. I mean, we're the real Bitcoin. So you're Bitcoin Cash? No, well, yes, but no. I mean, we're Bitcoin. We're the future of Bitcoin. You got the other one saying Bitcoin, Satoshi's vision. So okay, so you're Satoshi. Well, yes, but just don't listen to everybody else that's ever known me, because they'll all tell you that I'm not. Except for this one guy who says that we did write back and forth and that did have something to do with it, but he claims to be the real Satoshi. But Satoshi is an idea. It's a team, it's a group effort, but I'm the real one. But I have the vision for Bitcoin, so I am Bitcoin, Satoshi's vision. That's fine. BSV may very well actually technically be on the right track. And I wasn't there when the original ideas happened in 2007 into 8 into 9, when the white paper came through and everybody immediately started disagreeing with each other. I wasn't an insider, so I don't know any better than you do. But the research suggests that there's healthy political and technical governmental reasons for Satoshi to be an idea, not a person. And it's kind of the silly thing that we've been playing the game of, is it a commodity? Is it a currency? Is it a store of value? Is it a carrot? I don't know. What is crypto? Crypto changeo macatico. I don't know what it is. It can be a lot of things, obviously. If it can, instead of being a coin, if it can be a cat that is given birth out of an egg, then okay, crypto kitties. Silly stuff. It can be anything. Anything that somebody is going to waste their money on and waste their time on. That's what crypto could be. I think that the best store of value for the use of crypto is for it to trade back and forth between good projects. Liquidity is how it's done. It's kind of like if you think about if the current version of atomic theory is actually the way that it works, then these atoms move around so fast that they create something tangible. If they didn't move around as much, then it would be just like basically dead space. And that's kind of the idea of an imaginary coin that doesn't exist. It's dead space unless it's used for something. Well, it can be used to handshake back and forth and earn a higher value. So, for instance, I could, buy key, wait for it to go to 49, and then sell key. I now have more Bitcoin. In the meantime, they got transactions. Binance made 0.2%, and I have more Bitcoin. Everybody wins. Key won, Bitcoin won, Binance won, I won. You don't do that transaction, I don't get my profit. Binance doesn't get their fee. The miners for key don't get their stuff. So if you don't understand liquidity, you don't understand volume, you think that there should be only one coin, and all of the developers can't be trusted because they just want to leave their mark, then crypto's screwed. There's no way this is going to work. And yet somehow here it is, and it is working. So I believe at the fundamental level, people believe and they want it to succeed. The problem I see is that they don't care about that as much as they care about themselves. I'm only doing this channel because I care about people not getting messed up in the process of trying to earn off of crypto. I watched it go down 60% and then level off, and then that new figure go down 50% and then level off, and that new figure goes down 60% and then a really nice spike recovery, and now we have our fourth time where it's gone down 50%. Nobody seems to realize that it's happened. But I've pointed it out in, I think, 3 different videos now, where, let's just show it. Nope, I'm not going to get sidetracked. I'm not going to do that. You can watch the videos and see it. So, if, the developers can't be trusted to make the right decisions because they're working on an important project and the outside world doesn't understand the technical aspects of it, and so they really want to leave their mark somehow, so they want to do something, whether it's changing the way that a contract works, or understanding or not understanding, having more than one hash, having things that happen in parallel. Don't remember exactly the name for that part. I saw it in a different interview where Wright made sense about the reason for something that they're trying to eliminate. Increasing the block size, decreasing the block size, which one of them is going to blow it up, side chaining, which, things like the Lightning Network, if it wasn't possible to build it in as a resolution for transactions, then it wouldn't be possible to do. So the fact that it's possible means that it's at least an idea for somebody to consider. The thing that concerns me is that it can't be beta tested to the extent of the real world right now. I mean, it should be able to. But oh my gosh, can you imagine when the quantum computers mess so much of this stuff up? Not even going to go there. 256-bit encryption versus quantum computing? Question mark. ... Don't know. I don't know. But if the problem is that every single developer cares more about leaving their mark because nobody else really understands the technical aspect and they suffer from identity and needing to be recognized, they're in like the worst field possible. Because even the people that are raising money for their own ICOs probably don't understand very deeply beyond the coding level of things. And from the coding side, the disconnect that concerns me is that the likelihood that a developer who is working actively on the code does not have their own interest at heart from the mining side of things, because you can't know that much and not mine. And then, is there a conflict of interest? Of course there is, but do you really want regulation? Do you understand that if you get the regulation that's supposed to stabilize the one global currency that you think is going to be your coin, do you not think that they're going to put limitations like insider trading to work to say, hey, who's allowed to mine? Who's not allowed to mine? Who's allowed to control nodes? Who's allowed to change the rules on nodes? Isn't it unfair if you say one thing and then you change it to another? Who's going to decide what kind of computers are allowed to process? And is that hash rate using too much electricity? We need special rules and regulations just for mining and the electricity. And you should pay a different rate because you're earning a Bitcoin, or an Ethereum, or whatever it is. Shouldn't you have special rules and regulations on how much you pay versus John Q. Citizen, John Public, whatever. You really think the regulation is going to help your coin project? I cite NYC and Tether and Bitfinex. Why is it even their business? Because some trading took place in their state. They think that they should be able to freeze all of the assets of a company. As far as I know, they're not located in New York. Maybe I got that wrong. But it was a Panamanian company that was managing 850 million out of the Tether. I don't know. It seems like Bitfinex continued to be there, and Tether is still the main thing that BTC is trading against. So we don't need your happy lawsuits. That doesn't help the industry. It's not helping the industry. So do you hear that I have very strong opinions, but can you really think of anything that I'm saying that's not valid on some level? Isn't there a conflict of interest if you can mine and decide for the thing that you're mining, but you want regulation in order for it to succeed? Because you want to be number one, but you believe in healthy capitalism and healthy competition is good. But the thing is, if you beat all of your competition, then you have a monopoly backed by fascism. I mean, I'll take the dollar, thank you very much, if that's what BSV is shooting for. So then let's look at the fact that the likelihood that the developer understands the code, the reason for the code, the likely outcome of the code, and the human nature of FUD, FOMO, and just general greed, the impact of evil from global governmental regulation. Because let's face it, if you want regulation, then you're going to have regulation that has to have consensus too. And, you want to talk about revelation, biblical proportions, mark of the beast kind of evil kind of stuff. Whether you believe anything philosophical or religious from the past, there were brilliant minds at work that understood the dangers of centralization. If you want regulation and you want one coin, you want to be the one that wins, and you want the governments basically to knock out all of your competition, you're a fascist, and you're not too far from being the Antichrist. And I'm not saying that specifically to anybody, but what you should want is healthy competition. And I have a real issue with going against CZ with Binance specifically. I hope that he never, ever, ever gives any reputable fuel to the arguments against him. I don't know the guy. I probably will never meet him, but I use his platform, and I hope that we never run into any major issues. But trust comes from hour by hour, day by day, and thus far, 15 months is a pretty good record for having very few problems. In that time, Bitfinex has faced major issues. Bittrex has faced some issues. Cryptopia faced major issues. I can't believe that there wasn't more talk about that. And I think that they're back now, or they're just in the process of recovering some stuff still. I'm not sure. And understand, I'm not against any of these. If people like the different platforms for different reasons, then that's really cool. That's good. I can teach you how to do this on Binance. I'm not going to take the time, I'm only one person, to do this on 14 different platforms. There may be validity to different ones, whatever. The thing is that, if you succeeded in one place and then something changed, one of the great things about crypto is that you can just withdraw from one address into another and keep on moving. Lots of different stuff. So the likelihood that the same guy developing isn't going to have a fascist interest of his own in the mining side of things. Even worse, what's the likelihood that they really understand global economics? Okay, so are they just, are the leadership really that bad at understanding the economies of the world? Or is it rhetoric? Is it because they're trusting that the average person doesn't understand it either? And so they're just pitching what they're pitching. One of them is the future of Bitcoin. One of them is Satoshi's vision for Bitcoin. And meanwhile, 50%, 52%, 54% of the market is Bitcoin. So there's Bitcoin, and Bitcoin. Would the real Bitcoin please stand up? Please stand up. So I do understand there are issues with the developers. There's issues with the teams. There's problems with what you promise to miners versus what the reality is. What is the investment? What can you actually do to mine stuff? But some of the brilliance of the original model, building scarcity into it, means that it gets harder and the value goes down. The problem there is that you've created the ability to short while developing at the same time. So how is a $5,000 Bitcoin ever supposed to get to 10 if you need to earn off of shorting it? Because trust me, there are ways to cause a fear sell, just like there are ways to cause a fear buy. And if the only thing you care about is yourself winning, you're willing to allow $80 billion of loss with the people that are actually buying your coins and building up their value. Biting the hand that feeds you is not going to feed Africa. You know what I mean? So, if you want the growth and support from the people that know how to build value, here we are. And we don't like it when you do the knee jerk and cause everything that you can trade against to go down 50%. We don't like you for that. The problem is that I stand alone. Up until this past 2 weeks, people started to really actually realize there's something to this. That it is the actual core development teams that cause a lot of the problems that that exist in the market. So we're fans of you and we're vehemently against your practices at the same time. But then it becomes like, can you prove it? Prove your point. It's like, I live it. It's kind of like saying, can you tell me exactly where you were in the traffic jam when, the butterfly effect kicked in? You know what I'm saying? The whole idea that, butterfly flaps its wings and it causes a hurricane somewhere else in the world, the chain reaction effect. You can see that stop and go traffic happens because, not usually because of a wreck. The morning commute disaster is a bottleneck issue because everybody has to leave a certain amount of space from the person in front of them. And if there's a changing of the lanes or a speed up or slow down, that has a, multiple increase exponential effect, which eventually slows to a crawl. And it's always the front of the line that starts to pick up speed again first. You have the same exact kind of situation where, can you prove that the hard fork did the damage that it did? Well, I don't need to. I lived it. I was in the traffic jam. I watched it happen. I know the space between the car and myself and the car in front of me. And, I watched the ebb and flow of that. I don't have to be able to measure the inches. I don't have to be able to tell you which car was going the fastest at the front of the line. I watched daily as people discussed, were concerned. People started putting all their attention to the hash war happening between the two. Everybody had already decided ABC had won, even though they failed on so many different levels. But they won the name Bitcoin Cash, and that's all that mattered to them. And the result was we had a half value on Bitcoin. Right now, $5,200, $5,300 Bitcoin is the equivalent of a $12,000, $13,000 Bitcoin that it should have been already back in November. So that's greedy, and that's bad, and I don't like them for that. But I am rooting for the industry on whole. I am. I absolutely am. So another issue raised being that speculators are terrible, but I'm okay with them, and I trade as well. This is going specifically to the Dr. Wright interview. It is kind of an issue because I don't believe that greed is good. I'm not, Gecko from the movie Wall Street. I don't think that greed is good. I think that healthy competition is good. Therefore, I think that all of these coins should remain. I don't think any of them should be delisted. But if people just don't like their projects or their money's just sitting and it's not getting the job done, you're not earning off of it, then it should keep shrinking. And maybe somebody smart will come in and say, hey, your crappy coin's going down the drain. You want some help? That's also part of capitalism. Angel investors, takeovers, mainnet, ERC20 to mainnet. All these different things are part of a new ecosystem, a whole new sector, a new asset class. And they all need their stuff. But you know what? This all goes away if the traders go away. And if the traders are there and they want an exchange, but all the exchanges go away, you really want all of this just to be on the ticker tape parade. You really just want to have this on the Wall Street week. You really, really want this to just be adding an index. You really just want to have futures contracts. You really just want to have all that stuff. We've already got that stuff. It's like saying, in addition to coffee, beans, and rice, we're also going to add grass. Bitcoin would be the grass in that. So, let Wall Street deal with the rest of the mass adoption once we've already resolved the issue. But this needs to be a we the people movement, or all of your rhetoric about decentralization and the evils of government and fiat money are all junk. You're full of it. It's a bunch of hooey if you don't believe that we should be the ones that bring mass adoption. Well, how is that going to happen? It's going to be coins that bring actual value. Okay, that's true. But it's also the speculation. I mean, the only reason there's a market cap to speak of at all is because people are trading this stuff on Kraken and Coinbase Pro and Binance. Okay, Bitfinex, Bittrex, BitMEX, Poloniex, all these different things. Yes, I agree. We choose Binance. We hope that they never give us a reason not to. So you need to be actually promoting the good things that are happening from people being able to trade. If I watched this and used my indicators and I saw this as a good buy-in point, it's dropping, and over again, it's not getting much beyond 52.80. And I say, okay, now I'm going to buy. And I made profit from, that's just enough room to make profit there. But I waited. It's like, it's starting to come down again. But okay, we're good. So, I could have made, let's say, 52.90 to, that's, $40 on 5,000. So that would have been enough to make a profit. Was there something evil about that? Did I just destroy the global economies because I made $40 off of 5,000? What was bad? Did I wash a trade? No, I earned something. Did Bitcoin break because I earned something? No, a lot of people did. A lot of people earned something off of that. And you can do it 100 times a day. It's not easy. Most of the times you're going to guess wrong, or the range of difference is only $13. And it may not be enough to pay for the fees. So, exchanges are evil is what I'm hearing from one Dr. Wright interview. But the one with Peter McCormack, he says that the problem is the greed and everybody wants a Lamborghini. And then McCormack points out the fact that Dr. Wright has a Lamborghini. He said, well, I'm for capitalism and healthy competition. He said, well, that's different than what you just said. It's like, no, it isn't. So, Nuh-huh, yeah-huh, nuh-uh, yeah-huh. That's kind of the level of um, the what should be a more intelligent argument for things. But so part of the way that I look at this is one of the benefits of speculating and getting it right and getting extremely wealthy as a result from hard work is that I could afford to help Africa. I could afford to help be parts of solutions of things through global economics that work. But the governments are never going to want to allow it. They don't want to relinquish control. A lot of times it's going to depend on, do the people of a country have the self-determination and self-will and strength to fight for their freedom, not hide from the evils, but to pick up a torch and fight. Then the world should come in and support them and help them. So I don't know. Do they have what it takes? Possibly. But to say, speculators are the problem, everybody's greedy and they just want to make money off of this stuff, and the exchanges are extortionists and they wash trades, and they're like drug mules, and they're helping Iran and they're helping terrorists and all this kind of stuff. Every single evil thing that happens. Okay, for every single good thing that can happen, there's the bad guys too. People are buying and selling weapons and pot on the darknet. You stop one thing and it opens up another. People aren't going to stop doing bad things, but they were doing it with money before they were doing it with Bitcoin. And if they find a way to lock Bitcoin out from the darknet, then Bitcoin Cash will find a way to be used for exactly the same thing. If it's not Lind, then it'll be in cash. If it's not in cash, it'll be Quark Chain. If it's not Quark Chain, it'll be Ontology, or all of the above. So, speculators are bad, but I'm one of them is just one of the weirdest things for a smart person to say. But, so I will distinguish myself and say that, I am not Gecko. I don't think that greed is good. I'm not willing to succeed at the cost of somebody else intentionally. I do not want my, every single trade that you put in is manipulation. You can't help but manipulate the market when you buy something. There's a ripple effect immediately surrounding your trade, and then it's recalculated all the way up and all the way down. Even if it's $20, I have seen $20 in an extremely liquid, extremely high trade volume coin. I've seen something run down, snag my $20, and run right back up. It's the most unbelievable thing to see. It's really actually kind of crazy. Somebody else may not care about whether I get stuck in a position and lose money. They might say, hey, I'm going to put 20 Bitcoin on this thing just to drag it down, and then I'm going to lift it just at the right second, buy it in, and then sell it, and I've made my profit, and I just hurt, 700 other people. There's a lot of people like that just don't care. They're like, whatever you have to do to get to the front, that's what you do. I don't believe that way. So I consider myself one of the good actors, but there's a lot of bad actors. If the exchange were the one doing that, then, are you telling me that they don't understand economics? Don't you think they want to make $1 billion off of the 0.2% of every single trade, good or bad? So, encouraging projects, helping with the launch pad. I'm not a huge fan of every project that gets out there. Definitely not a Tron fan, but I'm not going to be a Tron hater either, because that would kind of be like, going against something that other genuine people might think is an okay thing. So whatever, this is, money is money. Every single one of these projects without the creators are completely neutral. It's computational power running on electricity. But it makes no sense to say, I trade. I see nothing wrong with it. I'm a capitalist. But the problem is, all these greedy people trying to trade. It does not work, and it does not sound like the same brilliance that made the white paper. It doesn't sound that way to me. But you know what? I wasn't there. I don't know who the real whatever. Okay. So, I do want to talk about Roger Ver versus Dr. Craig Wright, because we have, the hard fork of the hard fork has now happened. And it did do a lot of damage to the industry. I don't care about anybody that doesn't believe me. You may not understand. And there are other things that have gone into it, but there's a lot that comes directly from the core. The majority of this industry are the different people that have come in and out of development through Bitcoin Core. And most of those are, fracturing off. So Roger Ver, I really like and respect him. And I think that his libertarian-driven ideals come from, his personal experience of being incarcerated. And I would say, I don't know all the details, but it probably was very unfair and very extreme. And it's not the kind of thing that a country like mine should be doing to people if it happened the way it did. So I really, I genuinely, as a person, I really care about the dude. I don't know him. I would like to know him at some point. But whatever it is that makes him feel very strongly about what's wrong with the new guys in town, the core team that couldn't be resolved with Bitcoin, that makes him want to stand up for and win with Bitcoin Cash, it really does disturb me to say the future of Bitcoin. And, we're the real Bitcoin, and, Bitcoin Core is going to fail, so we're the winners. And, I would much rather see somebody to say, we're Bitcoin Cash. We're proud that we won the hash wars. But now we really need to look at the industry on a whole and speak positivity into what are the good things about Ethereum? What are the good things about BNB? What are the good things about our competitor BSV? Because you know what? BSV might actually be resolving things that the commoners like myself don't really understand. So that's the kind of stuff that I'd like to know. Not so much about, which clown is dissing which other clown. I'd really like to know what are the main things that need to be resolved, and what happens if you reduce the block size, and what happens if you increase the block size, and have you really tested it out, and do you really know? What if you were to take $1 million of your development, create I don't know if it could be done with an ERC20, but create something on one of the readily available open source blockchain projects, take everything you already know, make $1 million coin, issue it to the exact same scale of the original Bitcoin. If it's 21 million in circulation, then whatever your smaller version coin would be, and put it out on a test market and see what happens if you do it with a 256K limit, or 1 megabyte, or a gigabyte. From what I think I understood from Craig Wright is that InChain has actually succeeded in making huge blocks work fast or something. I don't know. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. And what does that do to nodes? What does that do to people mining? What does that do to transactional speed and the fees that are attached? And can we really make it win by having low to no fees? Wouldn't it be cool if if you were in a hurry, then you paid a low fee? But if you were willing to wait for your transaction and you had confidence that it wouldn't time out, that you could get it for free? Because that's one of the things is that you want to talk about giving people in struggling countries an edge. What if some of their transactional movement can happen without a cost at all? Never mind less. What about free? That seems to me like something that people that care would care about. You know what I'm saying? Or a very, very, very small percent from a very, very, very large population. Seems like it would be very, very, very good for your project. But yeah, that's what I don't understand. Why not create smaller coins that are just test market coins? You've got hundreds of millions of dollars, of cash flow. So why not test market with real coins? Do an ICO launch, airdrops and all that kind of stuff. And whatever it is that helps spark, a project, make it a legitimate project. Put it out there with your own money, with your own Bitcoin Cash, and see what a small block size does. And then, do another one. Do it with a giant block size. Resolve the unresolved and test it with something that's not going to break the industry. So I think that would be fine. Other Roger Ver things, I hear some things that he's very, very intelligent. I really like him. But he's got some of the global economics way, 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 way wrong. And one of the big things is that, if you diss fiat enough and it does crash, nobody's going to be buying your Bitcoin Cash. I mean, are you giving it away for free? Oh, well, they can mine it. Well, with what computer? With what electricity? The economy just crashed. So what happens to mining on the internet if you break fiat? The answer is all of this goes away. You want to talk about low capacity, low liquidity, low volume. Just keep talking the dollar down. So, if I were able to earn, just 0.5% a day, then in 10 days, I would have 5% of whatever it is that I have. Let's say $1,000. And after 20 days, I would have 10%. So after 200 days, I would have 100%. If I started with 1,000, I'd have 2,000. Now that's assuming that I'm, taking into account stop loss or, positions that are hodling, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So just pretend that we're just dealing with, the simplest of math, okay? Is it not possible that I could leave my original 1,000 in the ecosystem and continue to build transaction fees to pay Binance and to continue to pay your miners for the different teams that I'm trading back and forth, and also cash out the $1,000 minus whatever fee? Let's just simple math. In my year of trading, I invested $1,000 and I made $1,000, and I'm paying myself in cash. There's a really good chance that the 1,000 that I left in the industry is worth 80% less, and the cash that I cashed out is worth a penny less. It's a really good chance of that. And fiat is not always going down. It does actually fluctuate. The value of the dollar has been going up and down. Versus the pound, which I think has hit a 0.5 point a couple of times. Versus the Chinese standard back coin that has crashed like 8 times now. And so the government has a reserve from its capitalist sector that has to pay the government. They back up the exchanges on their end with their fiat. So you have to have a healthy balance, because first of all, most of the world's still not relying on crypto at all. And the speculators are propping up, the issues. I mean, I do think one of the best things that was discussed in the McCormack interview, that they were both right about, is that the wallets suck. And, if you don't like Gemini, if you don't like Coinbase, then build a wallet that doesn't stink. But really what's going to happen is that because you're developers and engineers and you don't think in terms of marketing and branding, and if you're only thinking in terms of marketing and branding, then you're missing the other boat. But because you don't think about the interface's usability from the user's end first, before you resolve the code, before you resolve anything else, think of how it's actually going to be used. Okay. People don't understand, what is gas? Well, it's for Ethereum. Ethereum's, ether, gas, ether. It pays for, it's a coin that pays for a coin, but it's not a coin. It's a utility. It's not a utility. It's a wallet. What? No, so all you have to do is you have 2 keys. One's public, one's private. And if you lose the private one, you lose all of your money. But don't worry about it, because it protects you. I mean, that person is immediately going to be thinking, well, my bank protects me. Okay, except for when there's a breach. But sure, most of the time, most people, most of the time, don't lose their passwords. Most people, most of the time, if they do, find an actual company representative and talk through the process of resetting things. When you get rid of that middleman, most people are screwed. So the wallet needs to act on behalf of the user in some kind of real world terms that, it reduces security, but it increases viability. It increases the ability to use the darn things. So, well, you just create a WIF and back up the thing, and then you can find your wallet, and it'll sync to the blah, blah, blah with the blockchain, and then it'll find it. And then if you have this, then the hard fork's there too. Then if you find the hard fork, you can move the hard fork to but don't lose your private key. MetaMask, Ether Wallet, all these different things. They're not mainstream by any sense. So most people can figure out how to sign up for Coinbase. And then it tells them, connect your card or connect to your bank. And, then you say, well, I tried to do that, but it didn't work. And they say, well, because your bank considers this fraud. So they're going to, red your account and not allow the transfers to go through. So you have to call your bank and you'd have to tell them it's actually me and I actually do want to use Coinbase. They'll be like, really? Are you sure? And if you're a 40, 50, 60, 70, 80-year-old trying this for the first time, no, you're not sure. You're terrified of connecting your bank account to something that just got flagged. So make a wallet that feels like a traditional account, and you don't lose everything if you mess it up on your first sign-in. I mean, that's a place to start. Code that tomorrow and you've got a 1% better chance of everything working. But, I could go to Fiverr and have somebody program this for me now. But if I don't have the reach to back it, promote it, market it, get a sales team on it, where's it going to go? Who's it going to serve? So you guys, with your Bitcoin Cashes and your Bitcoins and your Ethereums and et cetera, should be looking to what Bancor has done for building a community. You should be looking towards, Roger Ver has talked about the having a global bazaar, kind of place where people can buy and sell. I don't know if it's actually as successful as he says it is, but at least they're thinking in terms of, build value by not having to leave the Bitcoin Cash ecosystem. And I appreciate him for that. I appreciate what he has to say. And I really don't dislike Wright either. I think that sometimes when he goes on his rants, it's a little bit ridiculous to kind of reduce a brilliant mind down to the level of some of those that throw dirt. I understand his frustration with and at John McAfee, and I do think that McAfee does some of the things that are claimed that he does. He could take a lot of his money and build a wallet that makes sense, and maybe it would even be protected from viruses. That I don't know. Does he create them? I don't know. But is he an extortionist? I don't know if that's an accusation. Maybe, maybe not. Is he a little bit loony? I mean, I think he's the first one to admit that one. Not going to go into the reasons why. That's just gross. I think that there's a reason that the code works and the blockchain works and the exchanges work and the buying, selling, using of coins works, but the people behind it don't. And so those are actually the biggest issues to resolve. You could be figuring out much bigger coding problems if you didn't keep splitting between yourselves and throwing dirt at each other. So covering the issue of the fighting in between teams, you are one of the biggest issues in mass adoption as a result of it. So shame on you. Real legitimate shame on you. Seriously. I don't have anything close to the capital backing me that the three teams involved in Bitcoin have. And I'm busting my butt to do videos like this to help work towards mass adoption because I believe in it. And I believe that we're in huge trouble if we don't get mass adoption before the banks, governments, institutions get a hold of this. And it's already happening, and you guys are missing the boat when the Microsofts and the Starbucks and the BAKKTs and the Crypto Kicks and the Crypto Kitties and the game assets and all of these things are starting to kick up. JP Morgan coin, all these different things are starting to happen on a bigger and bigger scale. And you're still griping about who's the real Bitcoin, who's the real Satoshi, how's this stuff going to work, how people are going to use it, can we save Africa and Venezuela from themselves, all this different stuff. And here's the market at the lowest volume it has ever been. So what are you doing? You've got the power to make the change. Get in touch with me. I'll help you with the rhetoric. Get in touch with me. I will show you the things that you're doing wrong and help you find solutions for the things that you should do right. Because it really is just as simple as liquidity. Whatever leads to liquidity is going to help 90% of the market. And you won't have to worry about competition because you know what? There's $77 million running through Bitcoin right now. And there's 35 Bitcoins running through Encash. You don't have a competition problem with Encash. You know what I'm saying? But I do have some money in cash, and I want to see it make it to 37, and I want to see it make it to 44. Do I have a 60, or is that something else? Yeah, I want to see it make it eventually to 60. And what has it done in the past? Despite your hard fork crash that caused so much damage to the industry, it was, 93%. It's 93% down from its highest point. And that's not even the highest point. But you understand my point. Okay? You don't need Encash to go away in order for you to win. Venezuela is not waiting on a better Encash right this very second. But you could help the industry by having your 77 million and another 20-30 million in Encash and the others, because liquidity. So I'm going to explain to you the global economics of liquidity so that you can start thinking in these terms. If you care about crypto, and I'm still, just getting out of soft launch phase. We're not a big voice on the global spectrum. We want a louder megaphone, crypto louder megaphone. But if you are McCormack, if you are Wright, if you are Roger Ver, if you are a nobody on Twitter and you have access to somebody, you really should be sharing this. We should be working on resolving these problems together. I am a darn good day trader, but it's not the only thought in my head. I want to earn good so that I can help my family and help our communities. I want to do well for myself because I'd like to live the life that I'd like to live, but I also want to honor that position by helping others. And that is my primary motivation here. So it's a worthy message to get out to there that we can all succeed. We can all do better. The market has room to grow to $1 trillion market. Easily. We hit 560 billion as a legitimate number before shrinking to 180 as an illegitimate number, 180 billion. I would be surprised if the market is really a real $80 billion market. Okay? There's room for it to be at $1 trillion right now. So here's the thing to understand about volume is that it's kind of like the atom moving so fast that it fills in space. Okay. Have you ever seen one of those electronic digital tickers that it puts the right combination of changing the lights, the dots that light up, to where it waves back and forth really fast, and that's when you actually see the words present themselves in the air. It's not just a rolling ticker, digital ticker, but you see the message because it flashes back and forth so fast that it fills in the actual words. You see them like a solid word, but it's never in the same place for more than a microsecond. And if it stops, you just see these random numbers blipping around. The lights just moving around, not giving you an actual word or sentence. You know what I'm talking about? That thing? Okay. That's liquidity. You might have $100 and you could provide $30,000 worth of liquidity. That liquidity is the thing that gives the message that there's value on both ends. Coin number 1 and coin number 2. Why would a company go public if people couldn't buy and sell and buy and sell and buy and sell shares? If everybody just bought a share, they'd be done. I've got $1,000. That's all I've got. I'm going to buy $1,000 worth of your company. I've done my job. Well, day 1 would be really fantastic. Day 2 would be a nightmare. How are you going to explain to your shareholders that you went up $10 million in quarter 1 and you just stayed there in quarter 2? Okay, so liquidity is necessary. Money has to exchange hands in order to have value. So here's the example that I always give, and it's a really easy one. So let's just say there's this mom and pop chain around the corner that has the most amazing homemade preserves, or jelly, jam, whatever. And you just love the jar of mom and pop's homemade preserves. So you go there and you buy, your $20 jar of mom and pop's homemade preserves. And you tell all your friends, oh, you've got to go there. It's just the best stuff. You go on your Facebook and say, hey, if you haven't heard Mom and Pop's preserves, you're missing out. Go there, buy it now. Support your local community. Support, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you buy yours, you go home, you put it on the shelf, you say, oh, I just love those preserves. And every time you walk into the kitchen, you look at that jar, say, oh, it's so good. I'm so glad I'm supporting them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they're like, that's so awesome. Let's make another jar and put it on the shelf because so-and-so bought that jar. They'll be back next week. Well, they're not back next week because you value it so much. You put it on the shelf and you're just looking at it. It's so pretty. And you just love your jar of preserves from mom and pops. And you told other people, so they've done exactly the same thing. And so they're selling like hotcakes, and it's great. You've got, your business is booming. So you're making all these new jars, you put them on the shelf, and you're waiting, and nobody's coming in. Everybody bought their jar. They're just, they love it so much. I couldn't dare to open it. It just matters so much to me. Mom and Pops goes out of business next year, and it's all your fault. So, hodlers united. If crypto survives, and I think it will, it's not going to be because you helped it. It's going to be despite the fact that you did nothing with it. Yep. So if all of you were, for instance, to say, let's say that you got $2,000 to spend. Okay, maybe you hold 1,000 because you believe it's going to moon. And that's kind of the greedy side of things, isn't it? I mean, the reason that you believe so much in it is because you think it is going to go up so many more times that you're going to get a lot out of it. So, okay, yeah, that's part of capitalism, I suppose, but it's much smarter with the other $1,000. What you're going to do is you're going to buy some of that coin when it's low, and you're going to wait for it to go up, and then you're going to sell it back to the coin that you love. Guess what just happened? You just helped the miners. You just helped the developers. You just helped the exchange that allows you such easy access to those things. Yeah? That's liquidity. You could do that 1,000 times with your $1,000 and you still only have $1,000 plus a little bit of profit. But you just made, let's say if you did, okay, my math is terrible, so I want to get this right. I think it's 1 million, but let's say 1,000 times 1,000. I know I don't understand about everything about global economics either. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So yeah, it's 1 million. So you could generate $1 million worth of value split between two different coins. So that's $500,000 between two different coins by taking your $1,000 and doing something with it 1,000 times. You still just have $1,000. Your other one, what has it done? You bought $1,000 worth of your coin. And now what are they going to do day 2 and day 3 and day 7 and 9? No transaction fees if you're the only guy doing it. Right? So where are a lot of these new coin projects going to come from if CZ weren't reinvesting into other projects? Which he is. So they're going to make tens of millions of dollars, and he's going to make transactional fees from them making tens of millions of dollars. Why is that a bad thing? Because it takes away from Bitcoin Cash? It doesn't have to. If you guys put a better face on things, if you do figure out the branding and marketing and promotion, whatever it is that you're allowed to do, then I might take the next thing that launches on Binance and trade it against Bitcoin Cash. And your guys get paid when I do so. And you get to show that you have a healthy hash rate and you're handling transactions well. Explain to me why that's not the way that this is supposed to work. What if you taught everybody in Africa how to day trade? Hey, now we're talking, right? Now we're cooking with oil. So yeah, I have a lot of issues with the thinking behind this stuff. There's not an understanding of global economics. I don't have all the answers, but I do have some really simple ones. Find other examples that work like trading that are beneficial to people that add value to things. You know, let's say that we create a commodity-based coin for everything that is a local crop. And so you actually manage the crop with the coin and its blockchain. So you have, corn coin and parsley coin and coffee coin. These are probably already things, I'm sure. But, speaking specifically to, there's industry in Africa and they're selling and there's things that they want to do to locally buy, sell, and trade. Why could there not be a coin that is used directly for one thing and one used directly for another, and the government isn't in the middle of any of it? Can you program login peer-to-peer smartphone app that only person A who wants to buy something and person B who has a crop for something can sign into a direct connection to each other? Yes, I know it can be done because if it can be done for video conferencing, it can be done for anything else. So yes, you could create an app that allows direct peer-to-peer buying, selling. And you could do that for personal transactions with a smart contract saying, you don't get your money unless I get my parsley. And boom, you're done. That could affect real change. Could it not? But I don't think that Bitcoin Cash can be that for everything for everybody, as I don't think Bitcoin's going to be that everything for everybody. So Bitcoin right now, like, I mean, I think it's leading the way in having ATMs. So, I mean, if you have the idea of I want some money, but I want it in Bitcoin, or I already have some Bitcoin, but I need to go to a movie, I want to transact. Banks are the ones that are missing out on this, and eventually they're going to figure it out. The thing that they're probably going to do, and if they don't do, they're really, 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 really just dumb. Stupid. But, you know, banks, when you open up an account, it should automatically have your address for whatever coins you want. Or if it doesn't, if you're not in the top 10 and you want to have something else, you want in cash to be in your bank account, then you have to supply the QR or the address for that. I don't care who owns the public address and private key. I think the thinking behind a private key is the way that you protect your own financial future. There's going to be ways around that, and that's not going to be the solution. The solution is going to be access and usability. And those two things equal liquidity. And liquidity can happen in bank accounts just as easy as it can happen on an exchange. So, there's so many solutions to these things. It makes me sick that it's not already happening. But, you know, if you share this video with people and you tell them, I learned so much about this, you should see this video because this happened or that happened, or I know this or I know that. Those things will help. And, you know, there's not Gordon Coin, you know, making the money for having told you this stuff. You can believe me because it proves to be right in the real world, not because I'm going to personally benefit from it because I believe it's the future of Gordon Coin or you know, Gordon's vision. So the other thing I'm gonna cover a little bit here before this video is done. Really, you know, the big question mark on a lot of people's minds is who is the real Satoshi, and I think it's becoming more and more something that people care about, not just because of curiosity or, you know, who do I support, but what's the damage if the person that we dislike the most is the real Satoshi? And do we really want to know? And is it a good thing for the industry for us to know? But I think that scams and fraud and defamation of character, libel, all these things are really important topics that can take. I mean, corporations have fallen because of one bad move from one bad person. So I love the idea of a pseudonym. Gordon is a pseudonym, if you don't already know that. Just look up Half-Life 2. I mean, not that it's not Half-Life 1, 2, but there's a lot of thinking behind that too. You know, what is the half-life of things? You know, it's actually built into the infrastructure of mining and everything. So, but Gordon Freeman, the free man leading people from the darkness into the light. Just look at the synopsis for Half-Life 2 and you'll see what I'm talking about. So they have exactly the kind of tyrannical centralized government that people are trying to avoid by using crypto. So, yeah. Except we fight with trades instead of guns. So, who's the real Satoshi? There's two different videos. One guy that Craig Wright says has really bad memory and is wrong about a lot of the stuff that he says. And then Dr. Wright himself says that he is. There's a couple of people that have been on the teams that were brilliant mathematicians and cryptographers and dealt with forensics and a lot of other stuff who have passed away in 2013 and 2014, that a lot of people say that if they weren't integral in creating the Satoshi that is Satoshi, that maybe they are the actual individual guy himself. I don't know. I wasn't there, and I'm not going to call, you know, the best guess. But ideologically speaking, I think that that's the most important thing, is that who believes in the real vision of what Satoshi was trying to do. And I do see that the Satoshi that spoke publicly in the crypto forums cares about freedom, freedom to make the decision of what kind of coin you want to use. I do not think that they ever were thinking in terms of there's going to be Bitcoin and never ever anything else. They were a catalyst to make this kind of thing help grow and strengthen global economies by having other options in addition to fiat that could be free from the centralization that leads to greed and fraud. So that to me seems like the vision, and if the real Satoshi is an individual and is still alive, then they're either remaining very silent while other people who are not them say a lot of things that are not in keeping with his original vision. But if it is a combination of people, then what's happening with normal personalities is what happens, which is people don't get along. They get greedy, they get short-sighted, they get hyper-focused on themselves and what they're trying to get out of something, and they screw things up. So, if you want to hand this over to Walmart coin and Home Depot coin and McDonald's coin and Burger King coin, keep doing what you're doing and you'll screw the whole thing up, and it'll be the corporations, and you'll be screaming fascism, and corporatism and consumerism, and it'll all have been exactly, primarily, exclusively your fault. If you want to blame CZ for being a bad actor, you need to prove that he's actually done something wrong. What, in earning off of an exchange that's built well, by helping encourage other projects to succeed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I hope that the real Satoshi is alive. I believe that he probably is a pseudonym for a group of people that don't want to get screwed over by governments, and that they are brilliant developers and have a vision for how cryptography can make a better money. But if they think that it can succeed if fiat fails, they are fools. Nothing but fools. All of that brilliance and effort is wasted on nothing, because this doesn't succeed if you can't buy into it. And if you can't buy into it, you can surely not afford mining gear that's going to make you enough to make it worth it. So you've got to understand the actual economics of, you need customers who are going to buy your coins. You need them to have jobs, and you need for them to have excess cash, and you need that cash to actually be worth something. So if you don't understand those aspects of things, then you really don't get it. And no coin in the world is going to be strong enough to help you to get it. So last note, I want to turn attention to something that is very positive and explain to you why it is also very negative. Steem, STEEM, has one of the best examples of true believers, a real community, truly doing things to support each other, to encourage each other, to inspire creativity, to write, to blog, to video, to chat, to communicate, to forum, to do all the things that are good about using the internet. And it naturally seems to be steering away from the seedy bad sides, because people earn in Steem by doing things right there in the light where everybody can share and everybody can see. So if you're looking for a good community that is the exact opposite, the antithesis, words, please. They're the opposite of the darknet and people who are using crypto to hide, and people that are communicating through total anonymity. You have Steem with people who say, I am this person and I wrote this article and I got paid for doing so. And I am struggling, but I am surviving because I am finding value in this coin and doing this project. I love the people that I'm meeting on Twitter who are involved in Steem. I just think they're great. My very first experience with Steem, however, I don't remember exactly which thing I signed up with, and it's not like you can say forgot password, send it to your email. Well, anonymity doesn't work if they actually know your private keys, right? So they issue it to you and they say, make sure you keep this backed up, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I know all that stuff, and I do all that stuff, but I can't find where I backed it up. So I haven't been using Steem. I tried signing up with another thing, and I'll follow through with that process. But I really want to be the person that, I want to be the, Gordon with Archangel Alts, and I don't remember what I did with my sign-in. So, I mean, the biggest, dumbest, just base level error. I am the one that made it. Steam did nothing wrong, but it's a real problem. You need to be able to get into your account if you need to. So, people will say, oh, this is just like WordPress, or this is just like this site or that site, or blogspot.com or whatever. Until they run into the problem that I did, and they realize that we didn't store anything, we can't help you restore anything. You're screwed unless you make a new email. Okay, well, that's not going to help growth. Okay, but that's okay. That's the way the blockchain is. So that's one of the things. There is no middleman. Therefore, you have a platform, but you don't have a way of getting on the platform if you screw up. And what if you had done that 5,000 times and then got a bump on your head and you couldn't find your login to save your life? And you've made all this money in Steam that you can't get to. That'd be bad too. So those things aren't good. But that's silly stuff. Like, if I can make that mistake, then other people will make it too, I'm sure. But it's also resolvable. It's just that I'm kind of more busy than I would take the time right this very second to try harder. And I mean, that's just, right now I care about this video and making these points more than I do starting a new Steam account. But there's great people involved, and I really want to see it succeed. And I hope that the people that are encouraging all this stuff are actually cool people. If the people that make Steam are good and they're cool, then that's really awesome. I would like to see them succeed. But Steam is not going to be a global currency. It's not going to resolve game assets. It's not going to resolve everybody buying, with Steam at the supermarket. I think Bitcoin probably has more going for it than Steam does. In that category, the law offices, blah, 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 are using Steam, for our hourly payments. Pharmacies, medical fields, everything that involves mass adoption. Do you really think that it's going to be just one coin? It's not. It's not. So, great, fantastic community built around Steam. Decent community with free sharing from one coin to another in a community-based thing with Bancor. And how's Steam doing? It should be above 1,500, heading towards $7.77 if what the people behind Steam get, if they get what they want. So let's go see how is it doing. Should be growing because there's so many great people and they're doing so many great things. Wait, it still hasn't made it back up to above 700. It should be going up from there. It's not worth $7. It's worth 36 cents. All of their efforts and all of the value and everything they're getting paid in, and the coin. Why do I always want to say corn when I say coin? From 12,000 down to 6,600. So it's gone in half from a month ago to now. And I've seen nothing but effort and participation in a great community, and it's doing nothing to build the value of the coin. So that's one of the biggest issues with crypto, and that's where I'm right again. And it's not about me being right, but I need people to start listening because I want to see mass adoption happen. So guys, please listen carefully. Mass adoption comes from liquidity. And them paying you to do great things inside the community and create content and like content and share content, it's not creating liquidity. It might be paying you, but it's paying you in something that just lost half its value. And there's a good chance you do exactly the same right things over and over again that I think are so great. And next month, it might be worth 300 instead of 600. It might be worth 17 cents instead of 35 cents. So you earn $5 in Steam and it becomes worth $2.50. That's not really all that great. You've put in all this effort to write these really great articles and encourage other people, and you get paid something that lost half its value if you ever needed to use it for something. So, I guess its market value doesn't matter at all if everybody's just using Steam and not moving back into fiat. But let's be honest. When you are creating the value in order to pay your bills, your landlord does not say, just pay me in Steam. So it's a problem, and it's not getting there. And nothing that you're doing is actually telling the world that you should buy and sell everything in Steam. Okay? So part of the issue in these bridging the gaps are that liquidity needs to also come from being able to go from Steem to something else you could buy or sell. So let's say, for instance, that there's a grocery store that accepts Bitcoin, then you simply need a wallet that can go from Steem to Bitcoin. And you would be okay. You'd be able to take your Steem address, take what you've earned by writing your blog this week, and export some of that from your address to your Bitcoin. And from doing so, you would be able to buy something legitimate that takes crypto. If not, it's going to go from fiat, and you just lost half your value, and that's not a good thing. So if you have let's say that what if Dash and Steem went down by the same amount, and there's a Church's Fried Chicken, and you're in Venezuela, and you're writing blogs on Steem, but then you need to pay for something. If you could trade sideways from Steem to Dash and buy your chicken without having to ever go into Venezuelan money, then that would be a good thing. So that would actually work. But the second that you leave the ecosystem of the crypto, you have a problem if it's losing value. You don't have a problem if it's gaining value, but when is that going to be? You're not going to starve until whichever month it goes above 14,000, right? So that's an actual issue. We need mass adoption. Mass adoption comes from liquidity. You can do it right this very second by learning how to day trade. If you take your Steem and you learn how to trade it against something that is worth less than Steem, wait for that to come back up to the value of Steem, and then sell it back to Steem, you now have more Steem. And guess what? You could write a blog about it. So you could get paid to write a blog about how you earned more Steem. But mass adoption comes from liquidity. Liquidity comes from trading on a legitimate exchange. And since 2017, Binance has proven to have a spotless record. Very few problems, handled very well. So I am not doing this because I'm getting paid by Binance. I have a referral code for you to sign up if you decide to join, but I really don't care if you use it. I mean, that's the way that you could help us out. But right now I'm not even using BNB coin to pay for fees because I think that it's worth more than the 0.05% that I would save. So I think that BNB probably costs too much to use to save money on fees. I think that it would have to save like 50% on fees like it was last year. So it doesn't, so therefore it's not enough. But yeah, I'm not pushing Binance. I mean, if you want to trade on a different exchange, do it. But you need to learn the fundamentals, and we want to teach you the fundamentals, and we've been doing so. We teach all the basics that anybody would need to learn for free. So join our community and learn it for free. If you want to learn the deeper level of stuff, we teach the dynamics of our trades and our process and our system on a much deeper level, and we'll answer Q&A directly while we're doing the live trading videos if you decide to join for the monthly subscription. That's ongoing, and we're providing a value that I think is probably as unprecedented as our 98.7% accuracy in trading. So we really do care about you. We care about the crypto community. I really like Peter McCormack. I'm actually hoping to have this kind of discussion with him, and I would like it to run for an entire day if it had to. That'd be great. I really do like Roger Ver, and I like Dr. Wright, but I think they're doing a lot of things that could be done better. And I think that I am smart in those aspects where they have a weakness. I'm sure that they could code circles around me, and I wouldn't even want to enter into that foray to see just how brilliant they and their teams are. Actually, Roger Ver, I think he's just a spokesman. I don't think he codes. So I was kind of throwing all those jumbled together. But I really like some of the aspects of all these different people, and I'd like to get to know them. And I'd like to help them to reach mass growth and mass adoption. But it's not going to be one coin. There's not going to be one winner. There's going to be a lot of winners. And if you push the idea that all of the other crap coins need to fail in order for yours to win, then crypto's not going to make it. And you've been doing a good job at keeping it from making it thus far. So if you want to do better, get in touch, and we'll make it do better together. Right as I said, 666, number of the Steem. So I'm going to switch back over here. Very, very funny. So, if you are an investor and you think that I say some things that make sense and you want to get behind our trades and turn the millions into tens of millions, hundreds of millions into billions, I like that kind of capitalism. I could probably help a few countries once we get there. If you are an investor, I'll just say that anything under $7,000 is a steal, is a bargain. of the century on Bitcoin, it is definitely going to go to 10 to 20 to 100,000 if the developers don't blow up the whole industry first. It's going to happen. It's going to work. Bitcoin is the leader. It's half of the entire industry. Both Bitcoin caches put together don't have, anything close to the market value of the main Bitcoin. But that doesn't mean that they can't grow, and that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing for them to grow. I actually kind of like both of them and their teams. But if you're an investor, you really should get directly in touch, Gordon at archangelalts.com, or get to us through the website, archangelalts.com. Every single video that we do has a clicky in there for you to be able to go directly to the website. But archangelalts.com will get you there. So we really love you guys. We want to see things succeed. We want to help you to day trade, to make money. We want your coin projects to do well, so we want to give you ideas on how that should happen. We think that the game assets and even using things different from cryptocurrency as crypto something of value are things that are going to make some cryptocurrencies very wealthy. And I would love to see those projects rise to the top. But more than anything, there's speculation where the highs and lows, the ebbs and flows of the market are constant money that can be made by the right smart people. So get in touch with us and we'll help you do that. All right. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And, light up the Twitter with sharing this with people. I think that it is a worthy points to be made and to be shared. So I hope you agree. Thank you so much for watching and joining. And for now, Archangel Alts out.